Hi guys, welcome back to PyLab, and today we're going to be creating a simple calculator from scratch. We'll cover addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. By the end of this video, you'll have your very own functional calculator in Python. But first, let's talk about function, as it is a key aspect of what we will be doing today. In programming, functions are reusable blocks of code that perform a specific task. They help us organize our code, make it more readable, and avoid repetition. Think of them as mini programs within your main program. Let's see how we can use functions to create our calculator. First, let's define our functions for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The way to define a function is by writing def and then whatever your function name you want to give. So, for example, in this case, we're going to give it the name add, and then you put these brackets, and after the brackets, you put a colon. Okay, and then here I'm just going to write pass for now, which means ignore this function for now. Okay, now I'm going to create one for subtract. Okay, and let's just speed this up by okay, and then we rename this as multiply, and we're going to rename this one as divide. Okay, now that we've created all our functions, we're going to be adding parameters. So parameters are, we add them in here, and this is basically what our function will take. So when we call our function on the code, it requires the user to give it some parameters, so some inputs that the function has to process and provide an output with. So here are parameters. We're going to go for x and y. Okay, let's keep it simple. Okay, x and y, and this is going to be our parameters for all the functions. Okay. Okay. We've defined four functions: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Each function takes two parameters, x and y, representing the numbers we want to operate on. The function then performs the respective operation and returns the result. Now let's write the main part of our calculator script, where we take user input and perform the desired operations. So here we are going to be doing this like this. Okay, we're going to say print. So this here, we're going to be creating our user interface. So here we're going to say select operation. Okay, and here we're going to say print 1 addition. Okay, next we're going to say print, and here we're going to say subtraction. Then we're going to say print 3, and here we're going to say multiplication, and lastly we're going to say for division. Okay, next we're going to have the user input. So we're going to have the user input which step he wants to do. So he wants to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, and he has to enter either 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on this. So for choice equals to input. Okay, and inside this input, the question we're going to give is enter choice, and we're going to give him some options. We're going to say 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, and we're going to have him enter his choice. Okay, next we're going to say what numbers. Actually, let's have this numbers before this. So we're going to have numbers appear before our operation. So num1 equals to input, and here we're going to say enter first number. Okay, now here, if you want to have this to be an only integer calculator, and you have to write int here. However, we want this to also present decimals with us, so I'm going to make this a float one. So I'm going to have this as float, so it's going to give me decimals as well. And num2 equals to float input. And what here we're doing is we're casting. So this is a variable num1, and this input is our variable for num1. Now what I'm doing with this float is I'm making this whole num1 variable into a float value, so it's accepted as float. Okay, enter the second number. Okay, and this is where the user will enter his numbers. This is where he selects his operation, and this is where he gives his choice. Okay, so currently I'm just going to say, I'm going to give a comment so we can organize our code, and I'm going to say creating the user interface. Okay, next we're going to say the calculator logic. Okay, so this is going to be our logic. Now our logic is going to be as follows. So if we're going to say if choice equals to 1, then I'm going to say print result. Result is, and here we're going to add a comma, and we're going to say we're going to give our add function. So here we have 1 as addition here. So here we're going to give our add function. We're going to call upon this add function here by saying add. Okay, now we're calling upon this function here, and inside of this we're going to say x, we're going to say in this num1 comma num2. Okay, now you might be wondering, what is this num1 num2? So these num1 num2, this is the variables that the user has inputted for us. Now here we have add x and y. Now x and y are just placeholders, so this just represents num1, and this here represents num2, so it can be anything. Now we forgot to give in our definition, like our function code. So here I'm gonna say return x plus y. Now all this return does is it's just going to display an output here. It's like print, but it can only be used inside of functions. And here I'm gonna say return x minus y. Okay, here I'm gonna say return x times y, and here I'm gonna say return x divide by y. Now here in Python, when we want to use multiplication, we have to use this asterisk symbol. This means times, and if we want to divide, we have to use this slash symbol like a fraction. Okay, so those are our functions done, and this is our calling on. So what's going to happen here is num1 is going to be put into this x value. So x, no, this is going to be num1, and then num2 is the second number, and that's going to be our y value that's going to be put in here, and this is just going to return num1 plus num2, which is what we want it to do. So this is our division code. Okay, before we advance, I need you to know what if statements are. So I'm sorry, I did not realize you did not know what if statements are. So here with if statements, If statements are like crossroads, they ask a question and based on the answer, they take you down one path or another. Let's see an example of this. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to say if statements.py. Okay, and here this is going to be my example if statement. Okay, now here I'm going to say like this. Okay, this is my example of an if statement. If weather equals to rainy, print don't forget your umbrella. Else print enjoy the sunshine. Now here, wait, we haven't defined weather here. My bad. Weather equals to input, enter the current weather. Okay, this is our weather statement. So this here the user will enter either sunny or rainy. Okay, weather. So let me specify that. Yeah, sunny slash rainy. Okay. Now here we have if weather equals to rainy. Now what this means, in this program, the program decides what message to print based on the weather. It's a simple decision-making tool that we use all the time in Python. Here I'm going to run this code, okay, and here it's asking me enter the current weather, sunny or rainy. Now if I enter rainy, let's see what happens. Don't forget my umbrella, which is written right over here. So what's happened is Python has seen that this variable has become rainy. Now here it's checking if rainy, and this is a comparison operator. So here this compares rainy with whatever the variable of weather is. So in this case it's rainy. Now rainy is equal to rainy here. So it will go for this print statement down here. However, if I enter something else, so I run this again, if I enter something else here, for example, sunny, okay, then it will say enjoy the sunshine, because sunny does not equals to rainy, no. So therefore, it has to revert to the else statement. So, and in the else, this happens if the if statement is not met. If this statement is false, then this statement occurs and it says print enjoy the sunshine. So that's a quick up to of what if statements are. Let's get back to the calculator. So if choice equals to 1, then we're going to add the numbers. Now we're going to say elif. Elif is just a way of adding onto an if statement. So if one statement doesn't work, then try another statement, try another statement. That's how you'd use elif. So elif is just a way to increase this if statement. 2. Okay. Now if it's 2, then I want it to print. I'm gonna say result. Okay. Yeah. And here I'm going to say subtract. This is I'm calling upon my subtract function, and here I'm going to pass in the same parameters. So I'm going to say num1 comma num2. Okay. Next one we're going to say elif choice equals to 3. Enter. I'm going to say print. Okay. Result. Okay. Here I'm going to say multiply, and the parameters are going to be num1 comma num2. Okay, next one, last one, elif choice equals to 4. Then we're gonna say, oh yeah, by the way, after the end of every if statement and elif statement, there must be a colon. This colon indicates that it's an if statement. Okay, and it will indent the next line. So print. Now indents are very important as well, yes. Indents are really important because it shows that this indent here shows that this statement is part of only this elif loop. So this statement will only run if this elif loop is met. Otherwise, if I kept this one here, then it would just print automatically. Like it would just print even if the if statement doesn't meet. So I have to add an indent so it stays there. Okay, here print result. Okay, comma, and here I'm gonna say divide and num1 comma num2. Okay, and I'm also gonna give a safety measure, so I'm gonna say else. So if the user doesn't press 1 2 3 or 4, then I'm gonna say print invalid option, please try again. So I'm gonna say not invalid, sorry. What's wrong with the grammar? Invalid input, please try again. Now here's how it works. We start by showing the user a list of operations here. So that's going to be here. So, and then we perform the calculation and show the result. Okay, so now that our calculator has been created, let's try it out. Okay, run. Okay, wait, first let's refresh this. Okay, and we'll create a new terminal and run. Okay, so enter our first number. Let's see, let's give it a random number. I don't know, 2. Okay, and to the second number, let's say 7. Okay, and it says, so here we can see our user interface. It says select operation. 1 is addition, 2 is subtraction, 3 is multiplication, and 4 is division. Enter choice. So for choice, I'm going to say I want to multiply them. So in reality, 2 times 7 should be 14. Let's see if it gives me 14. 14.0, that's the answer. Now it will give me the result as a float variable because because as 0 at 0.0, because this is a float variable, it won't just give me 14, it will give me 14.0. However, because it's a float variable, I will get more accurate answers. So we're going to run it again. Okay, let's expand this outwards a little bit. Okay, please enter first number. I'm going to say 3. Okay, and then here I'm just going to write 10. Now I know this is not going to give me a number. It's going to give me 0.3. So you can see it gives me a decimal number. Now let's try a recurring number. Okay, so we're going to say 10, and then we're going to say 3. Okay, and now we're going to say 10 divided by 3. So let's see. Enter. And it gives me 3.3333. 5. Okay, I guess it just rounded up. That's alright. Okay. So it's just going to round up if it gives you a recurring number. That's alright. Okay. Let's test all the function. Add, subtract, multiply, because we have to test every single function, make sure it works properly. Let's give it a big number. So 2, 3, 4. I'm going to say 4, 5, 6. And here I'm going to say I want it to add. Now let's see if I can do this in my head. 608, 690 is going to be the answer. Boom, 690. Okay, I'm going to do it again. This time we're going to do subtraction. So I'm going to do, let's see if it gives us a minus number. So I'm going to do something like 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to give the second number, let's see. I have to give the second number larger, so 6, 7, 9. Enter. And here I'm going to get subtraction, and it gives me a minus 556. So it gives me minus numbers as well. So this calculator gives you decimal points, and it gives you minus numbers as well. Okay. And there we have it. Our basic calculator is up and running, all thanks to functions and if statements. You now know how to use functions and if statements in Python to create a basic calculator. This is just the start. The more you practice, the more you can build. Thanks for tuning into PyLab, happy coding, and see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more awesome Python tutorials. Bye for now.